This is Michael Wamsley. I have just escaped. Please come get me. We're trying to find you. We don't know. You were in a shed. Now, you're out walking again? Yeah. It's okay now. Kids will take care of tomorrow.
This is a true story, but if you heard it without knowing that, you would think it was straight out of a horror movie. In 2005, during a blizzard, a couple's drive home resulted in a night of terror. Welcome to Cinnamon Babe Horror Stories. On the night of January 5th, 2005, during a terrible ice storm with temperatures at -10, a young couple, Janelle, age 20, and Michael, age 20, were driving home through the rural back roads of Nebraska. The couple had just celebrated New Year's Eve and had a party at a friend's house in Kearney, Nebraska, and they were driving back home to Omaha. They had 186 miles to cover, but the storm was getting worse by the minute. Though it was late at night, the couple had felt oddly energized and had been awoke for a couple of days, so they felt completely capable of covering such a long stretch of country roads late at night. And I guess they just figured that it was leftover excitement from just celebrating with friends. Michael and Janelle had been dating for a year, but they knew each other since middle school. The two had been working at Timberline Total Solutions telemarketing company when they moved in together. They were extremely close, and their family describes them as a young, happy couple with a bright future. Janelle was a star student at Creighton University, and she was involved in cheerleading, drama, and a business fraternity. Michael, he was a former high school footballer, and he enjoyed working on old cars. He was hardworking, and the two were just working on a bright future together. They were a great team. Well into the drive, Michael became very confused as the roads began to get more and more difficult to drive through. Janelle couldn't pinpoint which direction they were headed towards their apartment, and it became more and more unclear how many miles they had left to go, how close they were to their apartment, and things began to get more hectic. And then suddenly they seen red and blue lights flashing behind their car. Michael was startled, but he immediately pulled over to the side of the road, and he also became instantly relieved because maybe the cop could help them with their directions. The cop was friendly but stern, and he informed them of their minor traffic violation that they had just did. Janelle asked the cop which direction was the street that they lived on, but when the cop informed them that they at least had 100 miles left to get there, a heaviness fell over the couple. Because it had seemed as if they were not very far from their apartment, they had gotten confused and disoriented about their directions and the amount of miles that they had left. But when they realized that they had 100 left to go, it's as if things had gotten very strange at that point. So the cop left them with a warning, and the two had a slight sigh of relief. And Michael and Janelle were at least relieved that they now were no longer lost, and they were at least had plenty of energy to continue on their journey. Like I said, they were wide awake and very energetic. So they continued on the long stretch of cornfields and thick patches of snowy trees. As the two went along, it became harder and harder for Michael to navigate his truck because the roads became more and more less plowed. The couple remained calm, but eventually Michael lost control over the wheel because it was so slippery, and they ran off to the side of the road. Michael tried to gain control over the wheel and get off from the side of the road, but he soon realized that he was completely stuck. So the couple panicked, and this is where they made a grave mistake. So Instead of remaining inside of Michael's truck that still had a half a tank of gas, coats, extra clothes, and just shelter from the negative 10-degree weather, the two panicked and got out of the car, and Janelle left her phone behind. Michael still had his phone, but they left without coats and extra clothing. So Michael and Janelle began to just walk down the lonely stretch of the back roads of Nebraska, and it's completely desolate and no houses, nothing around, and it's completely quiet while the snow is just blowing and it's freezing, and they're completely unprepared for the journey. And mind you, they still have 100 miles left on their way back home, and they're just walking without really a legitimate plan. Janelle clung close to Michael, but the couple began to feel paranoid as if someone was watching them. It was completely pitch black outside, and Michael used his phone to light the way. So around 2 a.m. into the walk, Michael decided to call 911.
What is your emergency? We need some assistance right now. Where are you? It's an old abandoned lake front area where they have cattle and an old gravel pump set up, and we need some assistance right now.
As Michael is speaking to the 911 operator, it's pretty dark, but the two come across a large grassy field with a shack. At this point, the couple was freezing and panicked. So this is when things get really, really weird. As Michael was speaking to the 911 operator, hundreds of people became visible in the grassy field. They came from behind the trees, and they could count at least 200 people standing there. The people were dressed in cot-like robes, and they were completely silent. Just imagine that. It's a gigantic mob of people dressed very strange and horror movie-like, and they're completely silent.
Where is that?
There's someone out in by the lake. It's possible. Over on his top.
Oh, it's on its top.
Yes,
Okay.
I need help.
Mike, you've got to help me help you, okay?
I know, I'm trying, but...
Okay, so we got to just kind of take a deep breath, and let's figure out where you're at, okay?
Go straight north. Just please. Hurry.
Okay, we're hurrying. We're getting there as fast as we can. We don't know where you're at. Is that your girlfriend?
Yeah.
Let me talk to her, okay? All right, do you have any idea where you're at?
Did I talk to our papa? I know.
There's people on the shack. They're flashing the light on top of the shack.
Oh, there's people on the shack?
Yes.
Go talk to them. Go to the people in the shack.
We've tried. They won't talk. We've tried to ask for help. We begged.
Okay, tell them that the police are on the phone and hand them your phone. Okay?
Please, anyone, help me. Come on. It's too cold.
Are they responding to you?
No, I don't think they speak English. I don't know any English or any other languages. Honey, come on, get up.
Is she starting to lay down?
She's breathing. Please, keep over here now.
Oh, Mike, I want to help you so bad, hon. I want to find out where you're at.
The 911 operator told Michael and Janelle to take cover in the shed from the elements because, like I said, it's completely freezing and they're not dressed for the weather. As they were doing that, Janelle and Michael reported to the 911 operator that some of the people were standing on top of the shed. So they're silent, they're not really doing anything, but their behavior is very strange, especially for such a large number of people. So as they were describing this to the 911 operator, she had told them to try to speak to the people and ask for help. And as Michael and Janelle tried to ask for help, they said that the people remained unfazed and completely silent and unresponsive, as if they were in a daze. As this was going on, 911 was trying their best to locate where Janelle and Michael were. Keep in mind that this is in 2005, and yes, the authorities were doing their best to locate Janelle and Michael, but it was very limited at that time to do so because of tower difficulties, and I guess Nebraska was one of the states that was behind in doing that. They didn't update their systems or whatever. Basically just know that it's 2005 and they were having difficulties locating the couple. Suddenly, Michael and Janelle reported to the 911 operator that not only were the people being silent, but when they decided to speak, some of them, they were speaking a different language, and so there was a language barrier. And so no matter how much they asked them for help, it's either they would remain silent or just not speak to them at all and just speak amongst each other, and it was in a different language. So Janelle and Michael began to panic because they're like, okay, all these people are not trying to help us. So Michael is, like I said, on the phone with the 911 operator, and he's not making much sense to her. So she asked Michael to put Janelle on the phone to have her explain what she's seeing. And Janelle told the operator that the crowd, she described the crowd as Mexicans and black people, and they're dressed in strange clothing, caught like robes.
I want you to stay in that booth. Whatever you do, you're going to stay in that booth. But I need you to be honest with me, Mike, okay?
Yeah.
Have you done any kind of drugs tonight?
No, I haven't done no drugs.
Because we can't prove it if you have.
I don't.
But it would help me to know if you did.
I don't do sex, ma'am. I really don't.
So how come all these 200 people that you see they can't help you?
911, what's frantic? Hi, there's a lot of Mexicans and African Americans, and they're all dressed up in like these close outfits, and they're moving all the vehicles. Do I just keep driving back and forth until I can get out, or why won't they let us out? And they're taking the cars apart and putting them in the trees. Yes, unless the owner is there moving their car for them. So, yeah, I can't let them start running and get out of the vehicle. I don't know where else to go. It's on the way. Okay. Thank you.
Their activity became more hostile. She saw the crowd gathering cars and taking the cars apart and hanging the car parts in trees. So the behavior is getting strange and more erratic. So nothing is making sense to the operator, and all the while they're trying their best to locate them through the cell towers, and it's just not working out. Because again, Nebraska at this time was behind, one of the few states in America that were behind in updating their technology systems to do so. So like I said, nothing is making sense to the operator because, okay, first of all, why are there 200 people in the middle of nowhere dressed in strange clothing? Why are they not speaking to Janelle and Michael? And how is it physically possible to take cars apart and hang them in trees in negative 10-degree weather in the middle of nowhere? How is that possible? And to make matters worse, Michael's phone kept cutting in and out, and it was on the verge of dying. And not to mention, or to remind you that Janelle and Michael do not have extra clothes on or coats. They just have like regular like hoodies, and that's barely enough. So again, in the beginning, when Michael and Janelle encountered these people, 200 people, they were unresponsive, as if they didn't even really notice Janelle and Michael. But as time went on, the crowd became more and more hostile and started to kind of zero in on Janelle and Michael, and they like started to surround them, making strange moaning noises. Oh, that's so scary. And speaking an odd language that none of them had heard before. And like I said, the energy became more aggressive. The crowd was breathing heavily like large beasts and making very odd, strange moaning noises. And Michael and Janelle clung together. And I'm sorry, if you hear snoring in the background, it's my Frenchie. He likes to join me while I'm doing anything. He just has to be right next to me when I'm doing stuff. This breed is like very, very clingy. So yeah, just enjoy the snoring in the background. So as the crowd began to move closer and closer in on Janelle and Michael, the two just took off running, and unfortunately they got split up, and it was pitch black, and Michael could not find Janelle, and he couldn't hear anything over the sound of loud footsteps and moaning.
Starford County 911.
I need help.
Where are you at?
Well, ma'am, I don't know exactly, but I'm freezing, and my girlfriend is freezing.
Mike, I want to help you so bad, hon. I want to find out where you're at.
My phone's just about to die. You're my last chance here. I'm scared. Please help us. Sorry, putting that on. Hey, Janelle, this is Michael Wamsley. I just escaped. Please come get.
This was around 4:56 a.m., so they had been out there a long time without coats. And Michael made one last attempt to speak to a 911 operator, and he informed them that him and Janelle were separated. He couldn't find her. He informed the 911 operator that he was able to escape the crowd, and that was pretty much it. The phone ended up cutting out, which means it probably died at that point. At this point, the authorities still hadn't located Janelle and Michael.
We're trying to find you. We don't know. You were in a shed. Now you're out walking again? Yeah. It's okay. It's all taken care of.
The authorities alerted Janelle and Michael's families and alerted Janelle's college, and some of her college friends and people who knew her aided in the search. When authorities finally arrived to the last scene where Janelle and Michael were last located, they found no sign of them and no sign of 200 people, cars hanging from trees. No sign of anything had been there. The search continued on, but on January 6th, 2005, Michael's snow-covered body was discovered. And 6 days later, Janelle's body was discovered near a sand pit lake. The two were both located 2 miles away from their truck. So the authorities had found Michael and Janelle's accounts of what was going on very odd and bizarre and very unlikely. So authorities first asked Janelle's family if Janelle had ever dabbled in drugs, or if Michael had ever dabbled in drugs or any odd substances. And Janelle's family was very adamant that Janelle would never do that. She was a great student. She grew up well. You know, Michael was also a great guy and would never do that. And that neither of them had ever shown any signs of doing drugs. But when authorities questioned Michael's older brother admitted that he believed Michael was dabbling in drugs, and he confronted him on it. And he basically warned him, like, hey, you know, you're gonna mess up your life, give up the drugs, like, don't do that. And Michael did not deny being on drugs. He actually agreed that, yeah, I should stop. So the autopsy reports for both Janelle and Michael came in, and unfortunately it confirmed that both had tested for high levels of crystal meth. One of the common side effects for crystal meth is being awoke for many days and having a strange high energy level where you feel completely comfortable being awoke for many days and you're high energy, and that's exactly what Janelle and Michael were experiencing at the time. So what about the strange 200 people dressed in cloaks in the middle of the woods stringing car parts in the trees? Well, when authorities had first visited the area where Janelle and Michael were describing these events, what the authorities did see was cattle. And one of the theories that the police came up with is that because Michael and Janelle were hallucinating from the drugs, they were hallucinating that the cows were people making strange noises, doing strange things, which also explains why Janelle and Michael told the operator that, you know, these people are not trying to help us, they're not speaking to us, and they speak a different language. You know, basically the way they were interpreting the people, but they were cows, were speaking, but they couldn't understand them. And may I just say, like, that is so scary. Like, I'm kind of scared of, like, cows and horses. Like, I like them, but I'm scared of them because they're so big and they can just be kind of intimidating. And just imagine, like, you're really scared and you're alone at night walking through, like, the wilderness, and you come across a large field of, like, giant black cows in the dark. That would be kind of intimidating, even if you're not hallucinating. It just would kind of scare me. It would also give me hope too. And I also, like, wonder, like, because they're on somebody's property with all that livestock, how close were they to someone's house that could have helped them? So yeah, there you have it. Unfortunately, this story is a case of poor technology on the authorities' parts, which is terrible, because even if Michael and Janelle weren't on drugs, they probably still, you know, could have died because it took so long for the authorities to locate them. Yes, Janelle and Michael left the car. That was, like I said, was their biggest mistake. But because of the lack of technology, it took hours for them to locate where they were. I think it took like the next morning. And unfortunately, it is believed that Janelle was introduced to the drug meth at the New Year's Eve party for the first time. It's believed that she was on a great path in life and that she was just poorly influenced, whether it was from friends that were doing the drug or Michael himself, which is more likely because they were in a relationship living together. And Janelle's family worked very hard to help change the technology systems in Nebraska and to also prevent anything like this happening again involving drugs. Okay, so there you have it. Let me know down in the comments what you thought about today's story. Me personally, I was a lot younger when I first heard this story. I probably was in middle school, and I just was in awe of it. I was just completely shocked because it's perfect. What Janelle and Michael describe is perfect horror story material, and that just had to be so terrifying for them, to experience that alone out in the middle of nowhere, because it was very real to them, and I hate that for them. And it also sucks because of the times that they just weren't able to get the help that they needed because the police were inadequate back then. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. Stay away from drugs. Make better choices than, people in these stories. It's not always their fault, but in this case, it was just a mix of really bad choices and just being in a time where things were inadequate. But yep, I hope you enjoyed today's story. Please like and subscribe. I'm so glad to be back because I have not done a horror story in super duper long. So there will be more coming out. And yeah, have a wonderful day. Bye.